Welcome to Season 2, Episode 27 of the BRASH Sports Podcast, brought to you by Number 2 Pencils. Sequel to the Number 1 pencil, the Number 2 is the greatest erasable writing utensil in the world. Don't believe us? Go ahead and venture out to your local pencil shop and try to find a Number 3. You can't because it was never invented. There was no need to after they made the necessary improvements to the Number 1 and crafted the perfect pencil, the Number 2. Forged in fire in the year 1819 and then not in fire in 1820 when they realized they were just burning up all the pencils they were making. Blood, sweat, and tears went into every single pencil until they decided to go with cedar and graphite for sanitary purposes. Nothing will ever compare to a Number 2, and God help us all if they ever try to improve it once more. So the next time you're doing a Sudoku, taking a test on a Scantron, or sketching your favorite cartoon duck, reach for a Number 2 pencil and be sure to use promo code BRASH2 to save, you guessed it, 2%. Number 2 pencils, they're the shit, pun intended. What is going on, B? That was a wordy promo there, but thank you, Number 2 Pencils, for sponsoring this episode. It's been a while since we recorded one, and I think a big factor of that is no one wants to sponsor us anymore because we take so much time off. So I'm glad we're back. Glad we're getting back into it. It's been over a month since we did a real episode, but I'm ready to get back into it. I'm fired up. How about you?
Yeah, welcome back, buddy. Good to see you. And you're right, it has been a while, and it has been due to the lack of sponsorship. I mean, we need the sponsors to keep us alive here at Brash Sports. And fortunately, we didn't think we were going to get one in really this week, but Number 2 Pencils swooped in and they saved the day. And here we are. Happy WrestleMania weekend.
Oh,
happy
shit. I forgot that was going on this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Happy Final Four weekend.
Yep.
And happy April Fool's Day.
Oh, it is April Fool's Day. I keep forgetting. Someone's going to fool me today because I keep forgetting it's April Fool's Day.
If you, I don't, but I'm sure if you go on social media, Facebook and Twitter, they always have some good ones on there.
That's very true.
And you'll forget it's April Fool's Day, and you'll buy that clickbait.
Definitely. So what's on the docket for today, B?
Today's starting lineup, my friend. We, of course, are going to bust open the Brash Sports page and get to our headlines of the past couple of weeks, at least the ones we feel are worth mentioning.
Yep.
The NCAA bracket, oh my God, we're not going to recap everything, but it has been quite a mad
game by game
mad
analysis.
March. Yeah, we're going to break down every single game. And then we will get into some of our predictions for today's Final Four matchups. And our new segment, this is the beginning of something special right here. The Brash Official World Rankings. We're going to get to our top 5. We're going to try to do it as many episodes as we possibly can until we get sick of it. But we got a good topic today. We're going to get to the world ranking top 5 convenience store candies. So
yes.
Stay tuned because you are not going to want to miss that.
No, it's a very important one. And to kick off the official world rankings, I think we couldn't have picked a better thing to rank. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working more of these top 5s into our podcasts, at least until the football season starts back up and we have more shit to talk about.
Yeah, no, I love it. And it's, it's a small docket, to be honest with you. We've been gone for a while, but we're going to come in more like a lamb than a lion today. It's just
very true.
It's just the way the cards have been dealt for us, especially for me. But let's get into that Brash Sports page, Josh. What do you say?
Well, let's do it.
I mean, the first topic to get to, the thing that's on every sports fan's mind, is the questions surrounding the potential trade of Aaron Rodgers from the Packers to the Jets. Still no trade to speak of, but the rumor mill is speculating that the Jets are looking for protection in case Rodgers decides to just call it quits after one season, which makes a lot of sense. So I suppose if that's the speculation, Josh, they're just looking for security in terms of, hey, if he only plays this 1 year, this is your compensation. If he decides to give it a go a second year, we'll give you another second round pick or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was reading or being told just throughout the week, just kind of paying a little bit of attention. Overall, I don't really give a shit. I'm sick and tired of this story. Like, please do something so I don't have to hear about it anymore. Um, but yeah, I totally understand where the Jets are coming from, but at the same time, if you're the Packers, it's like I don't give a shit. Like, why should we have to to have to care if this guy retires or not? We've been dealing with that for years now. Every offseason, am I going to retire? Am I not? They've been dealing with it. So they don't want to have to deal with it again once they get this guy off their plate. So they're saying, well, that's your business if he retires or not. But I totally see where the Jets are coming from too, because they don't want to, you know, take on this huge contract and basically sell their a portion of their future to make a run with this guy who's extremely flaky at best. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. I don't know how you work it out unless you have some sort of, conditional pick situation. But neither team seems to be in a huge rush here because the Packers have their quarterback of the future, and the Jets are okay with pushing this past the draft because that means they won't have to give up any of this year's picks. We'll see. I have no idea where this, but I really hope that this story gets buried and we don't have to fucking hear about it anymore. That's what I really hope happens.
They built it up so much with the speculation that at this point, if it doesn't happen, everybody would be stunned because
Yeah.
it's just been safely assumed at this point that it's going to happen. It's a matter of time. But I will say, the longer this drags on, I a little bit of doubt does sneak in, and I'm thinking maybe this won't happen. And sounded too good to be true for some New York Jets fans. I know that there is a large portion actually that's not that excited about bringing Aaron Rodgers to town. They don't think he fits the bill, but I think you're crazy because I can speak as a fan of a team that has been in a quarterback drought for many a decade, and I would love to have Aaron Rodgers or any quarterback of his level playing on my team, even if it is for just one season. But I can
Right.
understand where the Jets are coming from in this situation. Not pulling the trigger too fast, not willing to sell the farm for the guy. It's a smart move, and it's also a smart move for the Packers.
Yeah.
But how many more years does Rodgers have on his contract? Do you know?
2 more, I think.
Okay. All
I
right.
think he signed that massive contract was 3 years, 150, I
Because
think.
it makes you wonder. I mean, my bold prediction, which of course is starting to look like it definitely was bold and isn't going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm already going to start off 0 for 1 there, but that I thought they were maybe just going to cut ties with him and let him go before the draft. But yeah, I suppose that doesn't make sense. They're probably willing just to let him sit on the bench
Yeah.
at this point. I mean, they're in no hurry to get rid of him. So
No, they're really not. But also it's like, dude, you guys should get something, right? Packers should get something for Aaron Rodgers. Like, there's no reason not to. But you're right. They've got Jordan Love waiting in the wings. Like, they don't need like there are certain teams that would, if they were leveraging the future and sending high draft picks, they would need those draft picks because they'd have to draft a quarterback. The Packers don't have to. So they're not in as much of a rush to get this thing done.
God, it would be cool though if there was a curveball there and some other team just popped in, made the trade, like the 49ers, or the
Yeah,
Titans.
that'd be
Um,
wild.
but
I don't think a lot of the teams that would make sense have the picks to ship. You know what I mean? Like the 49ers gave up everything to get Trey Lance, so they don't have anything to ship. I don't really know of any other teams that are even in the like speculated to get Rodgers. All the
you're right.
speculation has shifted to Lamar Jackson. Where is he gonna go? Segue.
Yeah, well done, Lamar Jackson. That's what we were getting to next. He tweeted, what was it, this week, that
Yeah, it was
he
early this
broke the
week.
news that he did in fact request a trade from the Ravens on March 3rd. Um, so he's not happy. He wants to get the hell out of there. From what I heard, they did offer him quite a hefty contract that he turned down. But again, these are all rumors. But he's now threatened to sit out 2023, of course. And if they can't get something done, and he's not going to play on that franchise tag. But again, I don't see Lamar coming back to Baltimore next season. They're going to ship him out somewhere. You and I really like the Atlanta Falcons as a landing spot for him. I also just heard another rumor, that the 49ers actually entertained the idea of bringing him in. I mean, what if they did make it like a swap for, Trey Lance and Lamar, and then 49ers have to give up like a second round pick or something? Or wait, you told me that you have to give up 2 first round picks, don't you, if you're on the franchise tag?
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, quick breakdown of how that works. If it's a non-exclusive franchise tag, then you can shop the market. If a team makes an offer for you, you can either, as the team owning the player or tagging the player. I shouldn't say owning. That's a bad look.
Yeah.
The team that tagged the player can either match the offer that came from the other team, or let that player go to the other team, but automatically get 2 first round picks. So I don't know if it has to be within a certain time frame, like if it could be the 49ers next year and the year after or what, but that would be interesting. That team would be just insane if they got Lamar Jackson. I haven't heard anything about that, but that would be insane. Instant Super Bowl champs.
You're
Like,
right. You're right.
if he
That'd be
can
a
stay healthy. Like, I don't understand.
true.
Lamar is killing me because I read somewhere he's played like one game in December and January over the last 2 seasons or something. Like, that's crazy. He just misses too much time when it matters the most, and he wants a longer term deal with more guaranteed money, but he gets hurt too often. So I get where the Ravens are coming from. Like, dude, we're not the Browns, because he keeps going back to this. Oh, well, Deshaun Watson got this. Like, yeah, and the Browns are going to be wrecked for a long
Yeah.
time. We're not the Browns. We're the Ravens. Ravens are one of the best run teams in the league.
Yeah.
They're not going to be the Browns just for one guy. That's crazy. So, you know, I don't know. It's like, it sucks to see all this bad blood, because it looked like a perfect marriage that was going to last for a long time. Like, a year ago, I never would have thought that Lamar Jackson would be moving on for the Ravens. It seemed like a perfect, happy marriage. But sometimes that shit goes just down the drain. And I think that's what we're seeing now. And again, I was early on the Falcons thing. I hope that happens, because he looks like he would be perfect in a Falcons uniform. But I don't know. I don't know if any team is going to put up with this shit, right? Like at a certain point, you have to go, Lamar, look in the mirror, dude. We don't want to give you as much guaranteed money as you're asking for when your durability is such an issue. I don't know. I think he might just kind of be stuck.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see an end in sight for this one. I mean,
And neither do I.
I can't see him really returning to the Ravens, but I also can't see any team giving up too much just to bring him in. And you make a very good point. I mean, the guy, you can't feel confident that he's going to last an entire season, and in the part of the season when you need him the most,
When you need him the most, right?
yeah.
December and January, dude. We need you, and he's just not. He hasn't been there for him. So what do you do?
The saga
The
continues,
saga
Josh.
continues.
As for the saga, there's another saga to get to, and it is the potential sale of the Washington Commanders franchise, and it does appear imminent. It's actually taken a bit. It's moved at a much slower pace than I anticipated.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the offseason, but there are apparently 2 $6 billion offers on the table. I had to make sure I pulled this up and had it in front of me because I was not going to remember these guys' names. But one of the groups is led by Josh Harris and Mitchell Rails. I don't know. Is Harris the casino guy?
That's Harruz.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know, but and then another one is led by Canadian billionaire. Oh my God, I tried practicing this and I still Steve Apostolopoulos. I don't know how to say it.
Those crazy Canadian last names.
Apostolopoulos. I mean,
Oh, he's like a Greek. Is he Greek? He's a Greek
that
Canadian.
does sound very Greek, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
but I know just because his name's so complicated, I don't want him to have anything to do with the franchise because we just have to call him Stevie A,
Yeah, dude. That's Stephen A. We don't.
Stephen A.
You don't
Yes.
want a Stephen A. owning the team, that's for sure. His opinions are just a little too harsh.
We'll just call him the Greek. That'll be his nickname.
Stevie the Greek. I like that. That actually has a really good ring to it.
But hey, they both apparently have met that $6 billion requested figure, which is surprising. And there's still talks, even though Dan Snyder shooed this away before, saying that he wouldn't entertain any bids by Jeff Bezos. There's still talk that he's still in discussion to potentially swoop in. If he says, "Here, how about 7 billion?" You'd be stupid not to, right?
Really stupid, but Dan Snyder is really stupid. So
He's a spiteful piece of shit.
stupid, spiteful man.
But yeah, I mean, it will be, irregardless, T. I mean, whatever happens, I will be completely satisfied knowing that Snyder has nothing to do with the team anymore. He can move to London and be gone. But yeah, in my opinion, it's not happening fast enough, Josh. We got to get this done. We got to know who the new ownership is. And because who knows, they might not. I mean, I don't think we're going to see a new GM or coach this season. That would be a train wreck to try to put all those pieces together at this point. But they're immediately going to start looking and saying, okay, do we want Jason Wright? How much longer are we going to hold on to Ron Rivera? Honestly, I think it's a one and done season for both those guys. But
pending like a deep playoff run, I think you're right.
Oh, and I'm sorry, this wasn't mentioned in this article for some reason, but along with Josh Harris and the Mitchell Rails, I heard Magic Johnson's also part of that. So
I saw that too, man. I kind of like that.
I like
Magic Johnson flair to your franchise would be fun.
I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to have Magic Johnson along for the ride.
Totally. I love Magic Johnson.
Well, Magic Johnson, we'll get into a little basketball news. The Sacramento Kings, they clinched a playoff spot the other night with a win over Portland. I of course didn't watch this, but I did hear about this. It was the longest playoff drought in the NBA consecutively, and there was a 12-year drought. And that was in the 4 major professional sports. Holy shit.
All 4 major professional sports, that was the longest playoff drought.
And you wrote that the New York Jets were the next on that list?
Yeah, so now that the Kings have clinched a playoff spot, the New York Jets are now the longest major professional sports team playoff drought, which surprised me. I didn't think it would be the Jets, but
what is
the
that?
Browns went to the playoffs a couple years ago. The Lions did.
What's the Jets at? Do you know?
I think it's 12 years too. I think 2011 was. I think 2011, but yeah, I guess it was earlier in the year. Something, I don't know. Maybe it's 2010. But the Jets are now, in all of professional sports in America, the team that has gone the longest without a playoff appearance.
Wow.
Which, Jets, get it together. What are you guys doing? Get it together.
I'm sure the Washington Wizards are somewhere high on that list too at this point, right? It feels like it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a long, long while. I think they made like a play-in game and they lost right away. I think
probably
that's what
I
happened.
Guess maybe they're counting that. I was surprised. I would think it would be a baseball team, because there's a lot of just bottom feeder bullshit baseball teams, and there's not that many teams that get into the MLB playoffs. But I read it on the internet, so it has to be true.
100%. The internet never lies about anything. Everybody knows that.
So I'm sticking to it.
And of course, we touched on it a little earlier. The Final Four officially set to happen today, with the FAU taking on San Diego State and Miami taking on UConn. I guess we got to touch on the bracket that has been the craziest March Madness we've ever seen, and the first time ever a number 1, 2, and 3 seed has not made it. Has not made it to the. There's no number 3 seed in the Final Four.
No.
Okay. All right. UConn's number 4 seed.
UConn is a 4 seed.
Okay, that's the highest one. All right. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this a few days ago. last year when we filled out our bracket, we had a bracketology special that was absolutely terrible. We
Terrible.
couldn't even post it. It was so bad, and
The worst thing we've ever recorded, and that's
worst thing
saying something.
that and we had this horrible idea of how to put a bracket together. It involved coin flips, and I mean, it was just it was a hot mess, and of course, it was resulted in a terrible bracket. But I'm telling you, had we done that this year, we would have been damn close.
I think
I mean,
so. I think
that's
you're
how
right.
it's looked. It's
Yeah,
been that type of March Madness, so we shouldn't have skipped it. I mean, it'd been okay not to record it and post it, but we still should have put one together just for old time's sake. Shame on us.
I agree.
Because
I
even though
agree.
I went out on a limb with many picks this year, still very chalky compared to what we have right now in front of us for the Final Four. And we can't feel bad because it's everybody. Nobody has a perfect bracket right now.
No.
Unless you're Biff. That's it. If you're Biff, you have a perfect bracket. Everybody else, they're fine.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day when I was looking at my bracket, and me, you, and Daniel, none of us had a single team in our Elite Eight, correct?
Which is so hard to do.
It's so hard to
It's
do.
so hard to do.
But
3 people.
I was looking at it and I was like, well, fuck, dude. I had 2 7 seeds. I had a 6 seed. It's not like I just went chalk and then the whole thing blew up. Like I went with long shots. It was just my long shots were way off.
Yeah.
So fuck, man. It's so hard to predict because even when you go, this is going to be a crazy year, and you throw some long shots in there that you go, well, there's no way TCU is going to go to the Elite Eight. I guess they didn't, but now you've got a 9 seed in there and the Final Four. Like it's just madness, just pure unadulterated madness.
And it does beg the question, is this the best tournament yet?
It's hard to argue against because when you go into it, especially without a true rooting interest like me and you, because BVU has been banned from the NCAA tournament because
Oh
they
man,
know that
don't get
BVU
into
would just
that.
run the table every year, and so
Yeah.
they knew to just keep him out. It's all politics,
It's
right?
all politics. It's always politics with BVU. I know.
Always
I'll
politics.
get blue in the face talking about it, Josh. We can't get into that right now. I mean, that's a whole
But
episode in itself.
right, but if you don't have a true rooting interest, like I don't, you really don't, then you root for the upsets, right? You want to see this is the Final Four that you want to see, right? Just upset
Yeah.
after upset. You don't want to see the Blue Bloods. You're bored of Duke. You're bored of Kansas, right? Like last year, I think it was UNC, Duke, Villanova, and Kansas or something. And it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All the blue bloods are in there. And some people like that shit. I'd rather see upsets. I'd rather see teams that have never been there before that have a chance. They're getting fired up. Every FAU fan in the world is just going nuts today. Like that's really cool to see. So yeah, you could make a case that this is the best March Madness ever for those reasons. If you're into the whole underdog thing, which I think most people are.
We are going to make our predictions, but you have to answer honestly here, Josh.
Okay.
Are you going to watch both of these games tonight?
Well, I'm gonna do my best. He'll probably be on in the background. I do have my daughter tonight, so we'll see. But I definitely want to watch, and they will be on, but I'll definitely be distracted. Maybe more so the first game, FAU and San Diego State. I'll probably be more distracted for that one than the Miami UConn game, which is the later game. I'll put her to bed and then watch.
There you go.
So yes, I definitely will be paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask is because I, in all likelihood, will not. I mentioned it
Ooh,
before. WrestleMania weekend is this weekend, and
right.
they do a 2-nighter now, so it's Saturday and Sunday. The pre-show starts at 6 o'clock, and I'm such a WrestleMania mark. I have to tune in, get fired up, starting at 6 p.m. So that's when the first game is expected to tip off at 6:09, and that would be Florida Atlantic University and San Diego State. Ooh, I mean, of course, fun game to watch if you are going to tune in, if you're a neutral fan, because you can pull for both these teams. Um, I know you've been high on San Diego State in years past, and I don't hate the Aztecs. I like both these teams, but of course, my heart is with FAU at this point. So I'm going with my heart in this one, and I'm picking FAU to make it to the final.
Wow. Yeah, I was high on SDSU to begin the year, and then I totally bailed on them when I was making my bracket, and I don't know why. But I knew they would be a strong defensive team. That's kind of always what they've prided themselves on. I think that they keep it close. I think it's a low scoring game. I think it's very much like just a in the trenches, not going to be a 3-point shootout type game. But I like FAU as well. I think that they're just a team of destiny this year. And I think it's going to be really hard to get in their way. And I think they pull off the upset tonight. I'm going Florida Atlantic as well.
All right. Moving right along, right after that game comes to a close, we will have a tip-off at 8:49 Eastern time between the Miami Hurricanes and UConn Huskies. UConn, the only, of course, remaining team that is one of those, as you referred to, a blue blood team.
Yeah.
UConn, there was a long stretch there, back like when we were in high school, where they
Yep.
just owned college basketball, women's and men's, and
Powerhouse.
they were just unbelievable. I mean, they were unstoppable. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that they are in the Final Four right now. You have been a fan of San Diego State in years past, and I've always liked Miami Hurricanes. Larinaga was the coach that brought George Mason to the Final Four,
Yep.
so it would be just a perfect story for him to take Miami one step further and into that final. The game I am hoping to see would be FAU versus the Miami Hurricanes. So therefore, give me UConn all day getting the win against Miami.
Damn it. I really thought you were going to say Miami there.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I have to agree. I mean, if you just did the eye test, I watched both of these teams play last week. UConn just looks like the much better team. There's really not much else you can say about it. Really cool story, Miami. I think we had in our BRASH bracket last year, we had Miami in the Final Four,
We
right?
did.
As
We
as like
did.
an 8 seed or 10
Yep.
seed or
Yep.
something, and they made a run last year. So, they need to start getting some credit, I guess, because they're doing really good things. Um, but it's UConn, dude. Just the eye test tells me it's UConn, which probably means Miami will win because what the fuck do my eyes know?
Hey,
But yeah, I'll
have
go
we
UConn
learned
as well.
nothing, Josh? Have we learned nothing at all?
We have learned nothing. You're absolutely right. So yeah, there it is. I've got FAU and UConn just going at it.
We both have the same final. I mean, I feel like UConn is the spoiler in this thing, and you got to keep that spoiler in until the final whistle. And do we dare make our final pick if even though it's these not guaranteed that this will be the final, but I guess we can say if it is FAU and UConn, does FAU really have a chance to get it done?
I don't think
I
so,
don't think so
unfortunately.
either.
I
Yeah.
think the winner of Miami UConn will win the whole thing. That's what I think.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good point. If it were the other way around, I would still I would go with Miami or UConn. So, and I just feel like UConn's going to do it. I think
Yeah.
all the Cinderella stuff comes to an end, and at the end of the day, it's like, oh, UConn, duh.
Yeah.
Why didn't anybody think of them?
Also, friend of the show and good friend of mine, Patty McKinstry, Patty Mac. He is a diehard UConn fan, so he will be very excited about this. So, part of me is rooting for them for him because anytime you have a friend with a team invested, you want them to be happy too. So,
Is he
why not?
a fan of UConn like I'm a fan of Georgetown, or is he a true alum?
He's not an alum, but
Okay.
he
All
grew
right.
up in Connecticut, so he's not
Ah,
like not full bandwagon. Grew up in Connecticut and then moved to North Carolina. So,
nice.
um, So yeah, he'll be rooting hard, and I'll be rooting hard for them because why not, right? I don't know anybody who went to FAU, SDSU, or Miami, so I don't really care if their fans are happy. If I know one UConn fan that'll be happy, then that's good enough for me. So go Huskies.
Oh, I'll be pulling for the Hurricanes all the way, but
Sure.
I'm not picking them. I'm sorry, not doing it.
Well,
All
hey,
right.
before we get into the candy rankings, did you want to dive into the WWE at all since you're going to be watching?
Well, I do. I feel like it's probably worth mentioning. I haven't looked this up, so shame on me for not fact checking before spreading this propaganda. But I've heard that you can apparently gamble on these matches.
How would that work?
Exactly. It's a scripted show. So if you can gamble,
What?
and again, this is why I have not fact checked myself, but I have heard that, Vince was trying to work this out with DraftKings or FanDuel, one of them. And if that's the case, then if you're part of the writer's room, easy fucking money, dude. I mean, you know what's going to happen. So you
That
can,
makes no sense.
I know. I mean, you know what? I'm gonna need to. I should have done a little homework, but I did think, even if it's not happening this WrestleMania, they're talking like it's actually going to be a thing of the future.
That's like betting on a TV show or a movie. Like how is this movie going to end?
Yeah,
I don't know. That's crazy. I don't see how that could work at all. But good for Vince McMahon. He's always trying to move the needle, dude, and he knows that sports gambling is such a huge way to draw viewers in. So if he can figure out a way to get it to the point where you can gamble on WWE without any shady shit going on, then God bless him. But yeah, it's scripted. It's like betting on a movie or a TV show. Like, will Ross and Rachel end up together? Yes or no? Like -5. You know what I mean? Like, how does that like how does that work? It doesn't make any sense.
no, I know. It's a fucking joke if that actually happens. But that said, if there were betting,
Ooh.
Um, the headliner this year is Cody Rhodes, who I don't know if you know, Josh, but he is the American Nightmare. He is the son of Dusty Rhodes,
I was gonna
American
throw that.
Dream,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he's going up against Roman Reigns, who now holds the record for longest reigning champion, and he is the undisputed champion, meaning he is holding both heavyweight championships at the moment. You know, everybody that's been following pro wrestling, I mean, I follow it as much as I can, obviously not like I used to when I was a kid, but
Sure.
Cody Rhodes is a huge baby face. It's just safely assumed that he's gonna do it. He's gonna be the guy. But I've been fooled before by these bookers in WWE, and the more I have thought about it, I'd be putting my money on Roman Reigns to retain the undisputed championship.
Wow.
Disappoint a shit ton of fans. That won't happen most likely until the final match on Sunday. But we could see the women's championship switch hands from Charlotte Flair to Rhea Ripley, which would be a big deal for wrestling marks out there. So
Okay.
that's my bold prediction. You heard it here first. Rhea Ripley beats Charlotte to win the title for the first time, and unfortunately, Dusty Rhodes comes up just shy after winning the Royal Rumble, but gets beat by the best in Roman Reigns. So it's going to be a fun show. WrestleMania is a spectacle.
Right.
It's a silly thing. And of course, as a 35-year-old now, it's a nostalgic thing. It's not like I'm watching every single wrestling. I don't have time for that. But I never miss a WrestleMania. I can't.
The only WrestleMania I watched in the last 10 years was the COVID year in
Oh
2020.
God, that was horrible. That was
Well,
I just pretend that one didn't happen.
yeah, because
Whew.
we had nothing else to do. So my buddy was like, "Hey, I'm gonna get WrestleMania if you want to come over," because there's like all the bars are closed, so we might as well just do something and have something to do. And yeah, that was brutal. That was so cringy and hard to watch, but also like of course it was, right? Like
Yeah.
duh, of course it was terrible. So I'm not holding that against the WWE at all. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't get fired up for wrestling like I used to. I do know the name Roman Reigns. I know that yeah, he's obviously a mega star in his own right, but you know, if I had a group of friends or if I still lived back home, right? Like that where I could go and watch it with friends and see the spectacle,
Yeah.
it is a cool event. There's no doubt about that, but
It's always
it's just
fun.
not ever on my radar. I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it. So, yeah, good for you. I hope it's as entertaining as you hope it'll be.
Oh, it will be. I'm gonna mark out, and I'll be having a blast all by myself. Well, me and Gus, we'll be enjoying every second of it. And yeah, as I mentioned, 6 o'clock Eastern time is when the pre-show starts. So,
Is it still pay-per-view?
well, that's just it. I was going to mention it's available now for anybody that has Peacock, which is pretty
Oh,
much everybody. So that
well,
that along with every other pay-per-view, show for WWE. If you have
sure.
Peacock, then you can watch it. It's a
Interesting.
lot more convenient. Yeah, if they were charging like $75 for it, I wouldn't be watching it, of course. But
Well, that's why you get a group of friends, everyone chips in and
yeah,
oh, yeah,
yeah.
all that. But no, I don't think I'll be checking in. I don't have Peacock, but if I were a big wrestling fan, I'd totally consider it. But what are you gonna do?
You've Peahen. You've
Yeah,
Peahen.
yeah, yeah.
Peahen not as good
No,
as Peacock. No.
there's nothing on there. It's really a waste. And it's $45 a month. I don't know why I'm paying it. It's such a
They
waste.
get like a bunch of old GWA matches, right? I think that's all Peahen has. You don't want that. It's a waste of money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's especially when I can get those for free. Like, I don't know what I'm
It's
thinking.
true. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I do not know.
All right. Well, hey, what do you say for the first time ever? We get into the Brash official world rankings, our top 5. And this time, we're going to kick things off with convenience store candies. We will both break down our top 5. And of course, we're going to go 5-1, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll throw in some honorable mentions that could have easily made the top 5, but for whatever reason, today when we were putting our lists together, just didn't quite have the stuff, the guts, the grit to get in there.
Yeah. So do you want me to kick things off?
All right, yeah, let's start with our number 5s. I mean, I think some surprises are coming your way. Probably 3 out of my 5,
I
but you
do.
don't know where they are and
True.
why I have them there. And I didn't
Yeah.
write that down, so
I,
I'm not going to have a great explanation for everything.
I agree. And yeah, this was a tough list to put together because one, I mean, I just love so much candy. Like there's very few candies that I actively
Look at this guy. Look at this. You
yeah.
see this? This is a guy that likes candy, okay?
You need to grow a beard so that it
So you
hides
don't
that a
see
little bit.
the
Yeah, the neck, the double chin. Um
the turkey,
the the candy chin.
the gobbler.
But I looked at it like if we're doing convenience store candy, what am I most likely to go into a convenience store and walk out of there with in my hands, or what's something that if I walk through the aisle, it's really going to jump out at me and
Mm-hmm.
beg me to buy, right? So for my fifth on the rankings,
Number 5.
number 5, I went with Kit Kat, and I have Kit
Ooh.
Kat in there, and maybe 10 years ago it wouldn't have even been close, right? But I've grown to love Kit Kat so much because of their simplicity, and also it is easily the best candy bar to pair with a cup of coffee. If you've never had a Kit Kat and a coffee at the same time, I mean, it's perfection. Chef's kiss. It's a
Nice.
beautiful thing. So a lot of times I'll go in there for a cup of coffee and go, I got a little sweet tooth. I'm going to get a Kit Kat to pair with my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
All
why
right.
Kit Kat has made the list for me at the number 5 spot.
Well, I like how you kick things off with an accommodation to your coffee, if you will,
Yeah.
because that was my mindset with my number 5. Now
Really?
this number 5 again, convenience store candies. We tried to make sure we broaden it a little bit. So
Right.
we could bring in not more things than just simply candy bars. Uh, it's safe to say now you already mentioned it. So Kit Kat is one of my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Just I mean, spoiler alert, but
Fair enough.
there's the I love a good Kit Kat. Just to feed off of, no pun intended, what you were just saying. Kit Kat, they're also broadening out. They're not just a regular Kit Kat now. They
Right.
they have the mint dark chocolate Kit Kat. If you haven't tried it, do yourself a favor, Josh.
I have not, but
Um,
that's a great idea because it'll help combat your coffee breath a little bit.
there you
I'm gonna
go.
have to I'm gonna have to look into that.
So when it comes to my number 5 on my list, it is something I like to have with my coffee. I usually, if I stop by at a gas station on my way to work and I'm getting coffee, I'm usually picking up some Hostess mini donuts, and
Oh,
specifically the crumb donuts. Those are the ones with the little coconut shavings around them, roasted coconut. Absolutely hits the spot, man. I just scarf
interesting.
those things down like a fat piece of shit. So they
Yeah,
had to be on my top 5 because I have purchased so many of them over the past few
sure.
years, and they are just fantastic. You can dunk it, or you just sip your coffee and take a little bite. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Delicious either
I
way.
I agree. I love those things. I also love the chocolate coated one with the vanilla or the yellow cake inside.
Uh huh.
Those are
Yep.
fucking great.
That's the traditional,
I
in my
I
opinion.
don't
Yeah.
think I would have in my head, I never would have conflated that with candy though. So, but if you think
But
about it, I mean, it's very
okay,
much
it's a
yeah,
sweet, but
a sweet.
a sweet candy. I mean, come on. I guess yeah. And does
I'm not gonna put it under a microscope like that because it's closer to a candy than anything else.
if
But
we just go to
yeah.
the sugar content of those things,
Oh,
you will
yeah.
be convinced, my friend, that it is in fact candy.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, interesting. That threw me through a loop because it wasn't even on my radar.
There you go.
I
That's
like it.
how. So this top 5, I'm telling you, surprises.
All right, well, we'll move on to my number 4 pick. I had to I had to include a fruity type of candy, right? A
Mm-hmm.
sugary fruity, not
Nice.
chocolate
Like
based,
it. Yep.
and one that might not be my favorite. It might not be something I get a lot all the time, but it's one that always jumps out at me. I have a lot of nostalgia associated with this candy, and it's Skittles. Skittles are
Mm-hmm.
so good. I fucking love Skittles. They might be the worst possible thing you can put in your body, but they're delicious and they're great, and they had to be in my top 5 because they're such an iconic candy and they're delicious, and I gotta have Skittles in there. So I went with Skittles in my number 4 spot.
If I had put this list together as an 8-year-old child, Skittles would easily
Yeah,
be in my top 5.
yeah.
But it's been so long since I've dived, dove, whatever you want to say, into a nice new fresh bag of Skittles. Um, so I'm not hating on it. Especially I don't want Marshawn Lynch coming after me.
No, he'll be pissed.
Oh no. But yeah, I respect that. I respect that choice. And
Another big reason I have Skittles in there is that you go to a gas you're going to be driving, right, when you're going to a convenience store, and they're a very easy, if you're driving, easy thing to consume. You just rip the corner, you dump the bag. They're a very driver friendly candy, which is another reason they pushed up high on my list.
all right, well, this one may surprise some people that it's at number 4 and not higher. But yeah, I went with a traditional American choice candy bar that I don't know anybody that doesn't love a nice old fashioned Twix,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
Twix, I mean, it's got the cookie crunch, Josh,
Oh,
and
the cookie crumb. Got it.
eh,
Twix.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was almost disappointed to have it at number 4, but I was just being honest with myself.
sure.
And of course, it's respectfully on my top 5 where it should be. But yeah, it fell to number 4 because my top 3 I just think are too solid. And I love you, Twix. I have tried some other Twix that have recently come out. There's the cookies and cream one I tried the other day. Probably wouldn't get that one again, but the cookie dough one, stay away. If you see it in the store, do not get it. You are making a mistake because that stuff is dangerous.
Yeah,
But just stick with the traditional Twix. Okay,
yeah.
can't go wrong.
I remember the only one that I've tried was the peanut butter Twix, and it had
I
a
was
chocolate.
never a huge fan of those,
I didn't really like them
surprisingly.
either. It had a weird aftertaste. They should be the best. That should be the number one, right? If you think about all the things I love in a candy bar, peanut butter Twix should probably be number one, but they just didn't execute it well enough.
No,
So unfortunately, yeah, I haven't tried the cookie dough. I won't, per your
don't,
recommendation,
don't, don't do it.
because that does sound really dangerous. But yeah, I mean, Twix has got to be in the top five. They are delicious.
Yeah, so there you go. There we got Skittles and Twix as our number fours. We're getting into our number three. What are you going to throw in there, Josh?
This is one where I feel like I'm going to get some hate mail. Should be higher.
Oh no, here we go.
But my number three is Reese's peanut butter cups.
Okay,
And
all
that
right.
should and again, I look at a lot of factors when I was putting this list together. There are times when you're craving a Reese's peanut butter cup that nothing else will satisfy, right? You have to get a Reese's. There's not many other candies that are like that, where you go, if you're craving a Milky Way, a Snickers will do. But if you're craving a Reese's peanut butter cup, nothing will help you out with that other than
Yeah,
a Reese's, right?
this is true.
So the thing that kind of held me back and dropped me in the rankings is that they're kind of a pain in the ass to eat while you're driving because you have to unwrap it. It's like a cupcake.
And it
You
will
have to
melt. It'll melt
oh,
quick.
and by far the quickest melting candy.
It is.
So if you buy them, you have to eat them right away, which isn't always the best option, right? So for those reasons, it's not just taste alone, because taste alone they could easily be number one, but you got to have those other factors, and for me, that's why they're number three on my list.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess I didn't put all those factors into consideration when I was putting my list together. Love a good Reese's peanut butter cup.
Who doesn't? They're so
They
good.
they are not number three on my list. You had a fruity snack in your top five. I had to throw one in mine as well, and this was one of the curveballs I was warning you about. Number three on Brandon's convenience store candies list is Sour Patch Kids.
I
That's
knew it.
right.
I
I
knew it.
said
I knew it.
it.
I knew it. I knew it.
They have the traditional Sour Patch Kids. Can't go wrong. Everybody loves the blue raspberry,
So good.
and they have bags that are just full of blue raspberry ones, if that's your cup of tea. And they now have the tropical Sour Patch Kids, all perfect. Sometimes you got a real sweet tooth. Nothing, you don't think anything's gonna take care of it. No, no, no. Get yourself a bag of sour, not the little bag. Don't be a pussy. Go get that
Yeah, you got
other
to get
bag. Yes, get the big bag, the big fat motherfucker bag of sweet Sour Patch Kids. That's what I'm talking about. First they're sour, then they're sweet. Josh,
Yeah, I love that pick. Talk about a blue blood. Sour Patch
that
Kids are
is
a blue
that
blood.
tried and
They
true. Tried and true.
Now I will say spoiler, they're not in my top three. And I can explain when we're done with the list
Oh,
why
it's
Sour
okay. You don't
Patch
need to
Kids.
explain yourself. It's
I
fine.
I feel like I do though, because that is such a good answer and it should be a staple in most people's top five because I love Sour Patch Kids. They're delicious. But moving on to number two, I went back to the candy bar well.
All right.
More often than not, you're going to see me grabbing candy bars over other things. So I had to have it in there. It was your number four. It's my number two. It's a Twix. They're so good, man.
Twix.
They are so fucking good. I've never once in my life just had a Twix and been disappointed. They always leap off the shelf at me when I walk by. There's that gold wrapper. Oh, fuck, man. I love Twix. They're one of the most delicious things in the world. I had to have them in my top three. They're in my number two spot.
Yeah, Twix is just it's a perfect treat.
It's a perfect treat.
Do you get the regular size or do you always get the king size like
King
me? I
size,
always do the
man.
king
Like
size.
you're gonna eat 2 of those and be satisfied? No
No,
chance. You gotta have
no.
4. 4 is the number. Same with
Uh,
Reese's too.
yeah, no. You can't just get the 2 cups. What are you, psycho? Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna be satisfied with 2? Okay, weirdo.
Speak of the devils, Reese's coming in at number 2
Yeah.
on Brandon's list. The Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. We touched on Reese's Peanut Butter Cups the other day, and you were asking me how I felt about the seasonal Reese's
Mhm.
Peanut Butter Cups. We're talking about your Christmas tree, your eggs, your hearts, um,
Pumpkins.
your pumpkins. You know, again, fat little kid Brandon, all about it. You get the more peanut butter, the better.
Right.
But 35-year-old Brandon, I'm a traditionalist at this point.
Okay.
I just stick with the regular traditional Reese's peanut butter cup, but I always get the king size. Got to have 4. 2
Yep.
is not going to cut it. And I put them in the refrigerator. That's right.
Yeah,
If I
they're
don't eat
good.
it right away,
Yep.
I'll toss it in the fridge, get it nice and cold, and it'll melt slower too. So
Right.
it helps your the melting time.
No, I love that. Yeah, can't complain. Now, I will say 35-year-old Josh, well, 35 in November, but who's counting? Um, I still prefer the shapes. I think that you just have a better ratio of chocolate to peanut butter in those shapes, so I'm still a sucker for them. I also like the King Cup, like the bigger Reese's
Oh,
cup.
I
I don't.
see. I have not tried that yet.
They have one where they it's a Reese's. It's a big cup with Reese's Pieces stuffed on the
Oh my
inside.
god, I've seen that. I have seen that
Dude,
on the
those are
shelf.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Those are dangerous because you get a little texture as well. Fuck. But I think for the sake of this, you got to be a traditionalist. I'm with you. That's why I don't have anything too crazy in my top 5. You got to be a traditionalist and you got to go with the OG. And yeah, number 2 for Reese's, I have absolutely nothing to say about that.
Yeah.
That's just rock solid. Blue
No,
blood, blue blood, blue
these
blood.
are really good lists that you and I have put together.
I love these lists.
Yeah,
So good.
no coordinating. We didn't
Nope.
compare notes when we were doing this. But it does appear. My
I,
guess is we're
yeah,
looking at the same number 1 here, Josh.
absolutely. I was just thinking it. I don't think there's any way that my number 1 is different than your number 1. Should we just say it on the count of 3?
All right, here we go.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Snickers.
Snickers. Come
It's
on.
Snickers.
Snickers.
Duh.
Every reason why Snickers
It's
should be the number 1. It is the
it's
hands
perfect.
down best candy bar of all time.
Yep.
It's just the absolute perfect snack any time of the day. And whether it be a regular size, king size, or a fun size, Snickers never lets you down, Josh.
I agree. I do prefer the king size because you get a little extra nougat, and I like the nougat ratio in the king
Okay.
size. But yeah, you cannot go wrong with the Snickers. You're absolutely right. Any time of day, you need a little boost of energy. You can treat it like a protein bar because of the peanuts. It's perfect. It's got everything you could ever want in a candy bar with perfect ratios. The naming of it, the packaging of it. I mean,
It's
Snickers. It's
solid.
such a good name.
Solid.
It it hits on every single level. It should be everybody's number 1. It's just iconic. So I'm glad we're on the same page for that.
And it's been my number 1 for as
Yeah.
long as I can remember. I mean, the fun size always brings me back to Halloweens
Oh
of
yeah.
years past. When you're sorting out all your Halloween candy, Snickers is in its own special pile, and
Yep.
it's usually the first pile to completely just run dry because
Totally.
you're scarfing down those fun size, and even the little tiny mini ones too.
The cubes.
They're perfect. Yeah.
The little cubes. Yeah, of course. Dude, you just can't go wrong. It's got everything. If candy bars didn't exist and someone came to me and said, "Hey, we're thinking about making a thing called a candy bar. What do you think we should put in it?" Like, I'd probably come up with the Snickers because it's just got absolutely everything you'd want, and it's perfect. It's so good. So glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, no. Snickers deserves to be hands down number 1. And if please, submit your top 5 lists to Cindy at brashsports.com along with it, along with a copy of your
Yeah,
resume. Only emails with their resumes attached will be accepted by Brash Sports.
yeah,
But if you do not have Snickers as your number one, we'll find you.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. You sleep with one eye open.
yeah, you better
We're
watch your back.
we're coming
Okay.
for you.
Yeah,
We are coming for you.
we're not going to have
Um,
it.
all
Now,
right, so
honorable
honorable.
mentions.
Yeah, I was about to get into it.
Okay. I already
Um,
threw one of mine out there. So there goes
sure.
that. But
And so I've got a few, and I'll start with why I left Sour Patch Kids out of my top 5, and it's because I, if I were to rank, if I was going through like 20 or whatever, i- if I'm categorizing it right, I personally think that Rips are better than Sour Patch Kids, and
ooh.
I know that's a hot take. That is a
Hmm.
hot take, but they're like in the same category, right? That like sour, gummy, sugar coated type candy. I prefer Rips. I think Rips are maybe the most underrated candy in the world. And so they're in my honorable mentions. I can't have them in a top 5, but I also think that they're better than Sour Patch Kids. So that's kind of where I was with that. So I have to mention them honorably. I also have Sprees in there. I fucking love Sprees.
You do like your sprees.
I think the most underrated candy bar on the planet is Butterfinger. I love Butterfinger
I knew
bars.
you were going to mention the Butterfinger again. 8-year-old Brandon, easy top 5. Nowadays, not so much. It's
Dude,
too much work. It's too
it's
much
a lot
work.
of work. But if you're on a road trip or something, when you eat a Butterfinger, you're eating it for an hour, which is a nice it's a nice touch. If you're driving around, you got nothing better to do. Um, I also feel like we'd be remiss to not mention peanut butter or peanut M&Ms.
Yep.
That's those are
Nice.
just classic, iconic. Again, when you're driving, it's super easy. You rip the corner and dump, just like Skittles.
Hmm.
And then cookies and cream Hershey's are such a guilty pleasure of mine. I love them. They're delicious.
Do they still have
Not a lot of
those?
people have them in a yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. I didn't know they still had that.
So I'll buy one every so often just for a treat. Definitely not top 5 material, but I feel like they should get a little shout out.
All right. So that's your list. Those are your honorable mentions.
I mean, I could fucking go on and on,
That's
right?
true.
Like,
That's true. So yeah, I
unfortunately.
mean, in terms of an underrated candy bar, in my opinion, I had to go with the Caramello. The Caramello, Josh, is a
Oh
very
shit.
special candy. The thing about it, and the reason it didn't make my top 5, is because it's a rarity. Okay, that is just it's a luxury. Many in this world just never get to enjoy, and I just feel guilty every single time I have one. Um, Always get the king size. Oh, I do put them in the fridge. Same reason, they melt really fast, but my God, they're good and really good with coffee.
Mm.
Great compliment to a nice cup of Joe. And mentioned Kit Kat. But this one again, surprised it didn't make either of our top 5 lists. I don't really know where you stand honestly in this one, but Haribo gummy bears.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and have you had the sour ones yet?
No.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Really? They're that good?
They're that good.
Damn.
You will scarf down the whole bag. You can't
I'm
stop.
gonna I'm gonna have to try it. I don't even know if I've seen the Haribo sours, but yeah, as
Oh,
far as gummy candies go, that's top of the list. Haribo is unquestionably the best.
they
If
own the gummy racket.
for sure. And
Yeah.
like the little gummy colas too, I fucking love those. Um, one that didn't make either of our lists or honorable mentions, Milky Way. It's a sad showing for Milky Way today.
It is. It is. I've fallen out of love with Milky Way over the years.
It's just a Snickers with no
We grew
peanuts.
apart. We grew apart.
Yeah, I agree. And if we're gonna go more obscure route, like something that you just never see at a gas station, that I personally love, that a lot of people hate, uh, Charleston Chew. I'm a
Oh
big
yes.
fan of a Charleston Chew, and that is a polarizing candy. Most people don't like them. They're hard to find. You can only
Yep.
get like a
You
fucking
got to go
Cracker Barrel.
you got to go to a country store.
Yeah, a
That's
Cracker
where.
Barrel,
Yep,
or
that's where you
yes,
get
another
wherever you find your birch beer, you're gonna find a Charleston Chew.
dude, a birch beer and a Charleston Chew is you're having a day. If you
Wherever you can buy cowtails, that's where you're gonna find a Charleston Chew.
I forgot about cowtails.
Shout out to cowtails,
Big
man.
shout out to cowtails. Whatever that white stuff is in the middle of a cowtail, god
Dude, I haven't
damn.
had a cowtail in decades, but boy, do I remember exactly how they taste because I
Oh
had
yeah.
plenty of cowtails when I was growing up. Again,
Fuck yeah.
fat little
Well,
kid.
dude, unfortunately, we could talk about this all day, right? We
Hey,
should probably end it before it gets any
no,
crazier.
no, that's it. It was a great way to kick off for the first time the Brash official world rankings. That's right. We say there are the official world rankings, even though we have two separate
We don't
lists.
even agree.
But what we do agree on is Snickers is number one, and nobody
Agreed.
can argue that. So
No, that is fact, not opinion, fact.
And again, that's Cindy at brashsports.com, along with a copy of your resume. Make sure all submissions are in within the next 24 hours after listening to this. Quick, do it now.
All right. And on that note, you have a wonderful day. Enjoy WWE, WrestleMania. I'll be enjoying some quality time with the little one and some NCAA basketball. And until next time, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. Good
Peace.
seeing you. Thanks again. Peace.